All right, here we are. Oh, of course. Huh. Oh, we are live. All right. So I got a lot of things to talk about today. Got some bass gear here. Got some steelhead gear. Got some salmon gear. Got some spinners, spoons. Got drift fishing stuff. Got bass reels. Got some my basic steelhead bag when I take steelhead fishing. I have jigs. Got a bunch of stuff here. Tackle, fishing, and we can talk trapping. I don't have any trapping props, but I got 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 fishing rods next to me. I have net behind me. I have a bunch of tackle. We talk trapping, we talk fishing. But today I'm geared to talk fishing, but we always talk about anything we want. So fishing, bass fishing. Let's go over that first. Reels I like. Any reels work, right? Fishing for 20 years myself. So what do? I go to the Japanese websites, pick up some expensive reels. Curado is like $250. This is a Curado I. It's older. This is a Metanium. Got a real good deal in Japan on it. $200 roughly off in Japan. This costs a pretty penny. Great reel, very accurate. I never knew why fishing reels. Everyone said, "Oh, you got to spend all this oodles and oodles of money on fishing reels." Oh, until I picked this up and I realized the braking system makes them super accurate. This is more for bass fishing when you're trying to pinpoint a spot out there, trying to cast to a certain spot or certain speck of the water, a certain hole in the weeds. This matters. General fishing, buy what you can afford. Bass fishing, buy what you can afford. But when you upgrade, it helps. Now, for 15 years, I used just $100 reels. They worked fine. I still use them. I still have them on plenty of rods and reels. $100 spinning reels on my right. $100, $80 reels on my left. $200 reel on my left, right? So over time, I've upgraded, but here's another $100 spinning reel. So I got plenty of tackle, right? Lines I like. So some of you understand that I'm sponsored by companies. So there's a few non-sponsors here. There's actually quite a few when we talk tackle. But when we talk rods, majority of mine are sponsors. So we always appreciate the sponsors. We appreciate them being here. Especially Edge. They always take good care of me. We talked about other companies like P-Line. They take care of me. My other sponsors take care of me. They give me good deals. So we talk about that. So first of all, line. What line do I like? So for the majority of my life, I fished Dipple, Fluoroclear. P-Line, Fluoroclear. Good line, incredible line. Just need a good knot. Knot I like is a clinch knot. Tied a polymer knot one time, my dad did. Set the hook, broke off. Never tied another polymer knot on clear lines like this, only on braiding is polymer knots. P-Line, Fluoroclear. Really good, cheap line. Cheap in price, really high quality for what you get. Very good line. Expensive fluorocarbon. When we get into the bass fishing, the really expensive stuff, $30 for 200 yards. But it's super strong. P-Line Tactical. Super strong stuff, but you're paying a pretty penny for it. With my deal that I get from the company, I'm not going to disclose how much of a deal I get, but it makes it affordable. So I can promote it out there for you guys. Now, even without the deal, I would have dabbled in it here and there, but I got a bunch of it. I have a bunch of this now. The deal's not as good as you think. Sponsors, my level of sponsorship, I don't get free tackle. I get a discount on it. A lot of people mistake sponsors for free tackle. Unless we don't like the top level professional bass fishing pro tournaments, you're not getting free tackle. You get a discount. So I get a discount on this. This is what I would buy otherwise. P-Line Fluoroclear. Never had a problem with this. Really strong. 20 pounds is what I use for bass. A lot of stuff. Saltwater line, I use a different brand. I'm not going to disclose in case my sponsor's watching this, but that's just because that's what I've always used. And June Dan says Andy. Very good monofilament, very good line. I like it a lot. Use it quite a bit. Good for me. I feel like some of the fish see it out here because the way it's designed and how thick it is. But I use Andy sometimes for a dropper. It's a little stronger, it's better abrasion resistance, it doesn't break off in the rocks. I do use Andy as a dropper. Corey says P-line, very good line. 100% agree. The state record smallmouth bass came off P-line, floor clear. If that tells you anything. 8-pound smallmouth, 8-pound 2-ounce smallmouth, strong stuff. That's the line. There's another leader that I use on my salmon stuff. Salmon jigs, right here. Big rod, 2 to 8 ounces. This is North Fork. It's a local brand rod. 2 ounces of lead, 1/4 ounce jig, head, marabou stuff. I use CFX leader material. Why? Well, simply put, leader material versus stuff like this. This is on an extruder. Over long periods of time, the extruder has differences in it, right? When you make leader material, it's very precise diameter. Even if it's slightly bit off on the other stuff, it's perfect on leader material. That's why leader material is so expensive, because it's actually precisely manufactured. When you run it long, 300-400 yards of this stuff at a cheaper price, it's a little bit more wonky in diameter, but it's still just as strong. Some people believe it messes with the strength. That's debatable, and depending on which line you use. That's why leader material is for leaders. It's not just to upcharge you for a short stretch of line in a different brand. There is actually a purpose behind it, and it has to come down to the extruder and the line coming out of the extruder. So there is a purpose behind it. Now, for years, I've used this stuff as leader. No problem, just floor clear. Never had a problem with it. Reels. Talk about the Metaniums. Talk about all stuff. Nets. Beckman nets. By P-line. Beckman was bought out by P-line a couple of years ago. P-line, best nets in the Northwest. This is a 4.5 footer behind me for bass. I got 8 footers overall, and they're 6-foot handles. Super strong, super good nets. Highly recommend them. I have 2. One my dad has original. I plan to get 2 more. Amazing nets, super strong. The yoke construction is super strong. Great nets. Bass tackle. Let's see. Comments. Nothing yet. We will get into trapping. I'm going to go through this. I got a lot of tackle, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go quick. Reels. Back to reels real quick. Talked about the Shimano's. This is a Daiwa. Daiwa Luna. Fabulous reel. No longer made. I love the fact there's a metal bar on it. Super strong. Super great. Love this reel. Swim baits. Big heavy weights for salmon. Great reel. Now, on the contrary, I've caught salmon on the steelhead rod. Right here. It's X11 by Lamiglass. 6 to 12 pound. Not 10'6". Never had a problem with the Shimano. So the Shimano is a little dusty because it hasn't been out in years. Shimano Symmetry 4000. 40-pound braid. Right? 15 to 20-pound leader. Bobber dogging on this one. No problem, but I've caught 20-pound leader mainly for salmon. Never had a problem in tributaries. Fabulous line. This is my X11. This is before I moved to Edge. Now, my edge rods, drift fishing. We cast out and you drifted along. Hey, Wyatt, how are you doing, man? Hey, man, can't stick around. Awesome stream, love your channel. Appreciate it. I know your channel got deleted. I'd appreciate it if you resubscribe. Don't know if you already are. Could be. I didn't see it. But appreciate you being here, Wyatt. You're a good kid. You're a good dude. And we all appreciate, all of us are a trapper. All of us appreciate you, man. We really like you, and you do a good job. Corey said, I use P-line even for saltwater fishing. I use P-line 6X small screen. Corey, amazing line in saltwater. I've had it deteriorate too much on me. I'm going to say this without saying this. You never heard it from me, but Ultra Green right there. That's the line. Doesn't deteriorate, and it's a great line. Ultra Green is what you should use. Fabulous line. I use a 10-foot Ocean Master surf stick with bibs, casting or spinning reel for surf fishing, chunk and 2 ounce all day 50-pound power pro. Absolutely. I have the Ocean Master upstairs or similar. Don't use it a lot. I'll get into my Ocean rod here in a second. It's over there. Big. Okay. Thanks. You're awesome. We appreciate you, Wyatt. We really do. You are our future. If we help you learn and you get you out there with the knowledge we have, you are successful. You are our future. You're a generation below me, but when I pass on, you're holding our future going. We need people like you. We appreciate people like you, and you're keeping our tradition alive. We really appreciate you. I don't know if people tell you that, but we really appreciate you, man. We really do. You're our hope, Iowa Trappers' hope, and everybody else's hope to keep the tradition of trapping alive. We really do appreciate you. So remember that. You're needed just as much as all the other trappers out there. So, yeah, we do need you. We appreciate you. This is a drift rod. This is an Edge by Gary Loomis LMX right here. It is a 9 foot 6-inch 4-power, medium heavy, 3/8". This is something that you cast out there. The river drags it along, and you wait for the fish to grab it, and you feel a dunk, and then you set the hook. Now, this is controversial drift fishing here because a lot of people come to snagging. They feel the fish, they set the hook, rip it into them. There's a distinct bite, and there's a distinct snagging. Very controversial fishing, but if you have the feel, you could do it right. Great rod. Here, all you do is put a little Lindy's corky, some yarn, and a hook. And then a leader, and then you got your little weight up here. Your slinky, stuff like that. So that's great for that. Now, bass fishing. Now we talked a little bit of salmon steel stuff. We're going to move on to a little bit of bass fishing. I found some time to stick on. Awesome. Appreciate you, man. We really do. Bass fishing. Let's talk plastics. I know one of the people in the outdoors auctions got Wyatt some stuff. I want to help Wyatt here real quick. Plastics. Love them. Texas rig them. And then you take the hook. I'll show you. You take the hook. Oops, that's this is a heavy rod. This is for nasty, heavy cover, wood, weeds, all that stuff. I'm not wrong. That was for salmon. Salmon and steelhead, correct. That stuff was. This is like a broomstick. This is for when you're fishing for, like in Florida, but we have some comparable stuff out here in Oregon. Trees in the middle. We have the forest we fish in. But this is an extra heavy fast action. You don't need something this heavy. A medium heavy is perfect for what you'd be using. But getting off that topic. Texas rig. Texas rig. Right? Look up how to tie a Texas rig. This is tungsten. You don't have to use tungsten. Tungsten is expensive. It's another sponsor of mine. But Texas rig, you put the worm on there, and when you Texas rig it, take this. See the point there? Move the plastic up and dip that tip in. That tip going in there like that, right? That is what will prevent you from losing all your tackle. And the nastier stuff, bury the tip a little bit further. Try to keep it flat though. Burying that tip will prevent the wood and weeds coming along getting stuck on it. That makes it weedless, so you can fish in the nasty stuff. I even cast and retrieve this in open water. Great bait. Caught plenty of 6-pounders on this. Little craw bait. Fantastic. If the craws flap, right? Dynamite. And this particular brand is a Bruiser Bait Crazy Craw. Amazing bait. I don't care if you cast it, hop it, swim it, whatever. It gets bit. One of the best craws out there without going up to like the Strike King brand. And very affordable. I used to buy these at 12 packs at a time because they were so good. Out of a website called tacklewarehouse.com. 12 packs at a time. Amazing bait. These flanges on here are what make it swim so good. I could fish all my other stuff, spinnerbaits, jigs. I put this on, cast it out there. I could call my shots almost because they eat it so much. Other day I was fishing with somebody. I was like, game over. Showed them what I was using. They're like, oh, geez, here we go. Cast out there, hooked a giant. Right out in front of them. They were fishing there. Caught it right out in front of them. They didn't know what happened. Amazing bait. This one's black and blue. The Okeechobee craw color is good. Fantastic bait. Amazing. Really good. But if you have any plastics, I would start out with Texas rigging it. In Texas rigging, you slide a peg on, right? Right there. Slide the weight on, and then you take the peg and slide it down. Pegging your weight is crucial because if you hit a log and it's not pegged, the weight goes down, the log's here, and then you get stuck. So always peg your weights. Highly recommend pegging them. Incredible bait. We'll catch bass just about everywhere. Caught crappie on this. Everything will eat it. Fabulous, fabulous rig. And Texas rigs can be used for all plastics. Right? So, yes, this one is a flipping stick. And why I would not... These rods, you get them. They're amazing rods. They take a little time to get delivered. Best rods you can buy. High sensitivity, but they are expensive. So, that is my one warning. When you're 12, you're 12 years old, I would suggest a brand like Bass Pro brand, Cabela's brand rods. Fabulous. If something happens to them, really good warranty. They should replace them, no problem. They're really good about that stuff. So that's that. Texas rig. Great. I heard you got some jigs. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to this. Good old flipping stick. Absolutely. And that's an absolute broomstick. No problem. I've caught a fish in this next rod I showed you. Medium heavy, fast action. He was bending the rod down to the handle. Giant, giant bass for out here. Most likely over 7 pounds, pushing 8 pounds, maybe 9. Bending the rod to the handle, fought him, popped off. I about cried. I packed up and left. I didn't know what to do with myself. Biggest fish of the year by far. Maybe of my life when it comes to bass. Packet craw looks just alike. Absolutely. It's based off of the Strike King brand, but it's a little different. Super thick plastic on it. Very good plastic where you catch fish over and over and over. You won't really ruin it. What are your recommendations on using spinners and what conditions do they work best in? I really struggle with spinners and buzzbaits and even chatterbaits. Okay. Stick with me here. Getting there. Talk about the bass rod. Texas rig. You can fish that Texas rig craw, swim in it like a spinnerbait. If they don't want that flash, switch over to that and they'll eat it. And you'll see a correlation here with my baits. A Texas rig, no skirt, no flash. Right? You see a correlation there. Good choices. Nothing wrong with Abu Garcia, but for future references, go with the Cabela's brand. Better warranty, and they stand by their products. And if a fluke happens, stick with the Cabela's brand. I have a bunch of Cabela's rods. Amazing rods. Never had a problem. Broke a couple, no question asked, replaced it. Now, I've heard horror stories about the Abu Garcia rods, but if you're careful with it, don't bang it on rocks. You won't have problems. So just be careful with that one. Cabela's brand, I'll stick with the Bass Pro brand. Let's see. Now I'm going to go from, you heard me go from Texas rig, no flash, no skirt. Next one in the lineup. You fish that, drag it, pop it, do whatever you want. Swim it. Jig. Next option to cover all my scenarios here. Jig. I like black jigs, solid black. And this one is a dirty jigs. Great jig, big hook. What do you see in common here? Craw. This one, I wasn't hopping it, I was swimming it. No flash. Caught a 5.5 on this. Largemouth, Northwest largemouth. Now, if there's something like Florida, it would have been a 10-pounder, but it's different strain, different species. No flash. They annihilate this. When they don't want the flash, they don't want just the Texas rig. What the skirt does is it makes it a bigger profile in the water, silhouetting it, and making it something there that they can't see it. It's like a shadow moving on the bottom. That's why I like this. It's shadow moving in the dirty water. Believe it or not, when you have a foot of visibility, They see this better than other colors. Black is my go-to. Great bait. Catch a lot of fish on it. Swim it, hop it, drag it. Great bait. Keep an eye on jigs. Total big fish annihilator. Big fish destroy jigs. They hammer them. I think we've caught more big fish on jigs than we have just about anything else besides Texas rig 2. Amazing bait. Can't beat it. These are my go-to rods and baits that I went fishing with a couple weeks ago. These exact baits, and I had no problem catching them. Jigs. Now, you see where I'm going with this, right? Added no skirt, Texas rig. Added a skirt, jig. Black jig, same trailer. Now we're going to the next thing here. Well, why am I doing this? Because I'm covering all my bases and all the different looks to the fish. Maybe they want a Texas rig. Oh, they didn't. Maybe they wanted a skirt. Didn't want that. Now, this is a jig because this is a spinnerbait because it got dark, it changed to white. I like more lifelike patterns and I like pepper bait jigs. So, what Dan and Judith are down south, the Tequila Sunrise are really good colors. Really good. I don't use a lot of them up here. But imagine this is a pepper bait, different brand, and they have willow leaf blades. Willow heel here and a willow there. I put this on because it get dark and I wanted more thump. Trail hooks, important. I like them. Don't have to use them. Spinner bait. I had a different one. Now I went from Texas rig, added a skirt, then I went to a spinner bait, flash and a skirt. So I just covered all the free looks that in this lake they like, and a lot of lakes they do. So where you are potentially on the East Coast, I would use more bluegill patterns, perch patterns, stuff like that. I'm assuming you're on the East Coast. There's a few people that said you're on the East Coast. White, if you have shad, white, right? Smallmouth love white. I like the pepper baits, pepper custom. As soon as I get to the lake next week, I'm cutting this one off, putting the pepper double willow leaf on. I haven't caught on this, but the concept of going from Texas rig to jig and to spinnerbait, you have no problem catching on them. They will eat it. If it gets in front of the face, they'll eat it. That's what I did. Flash, took the flash away, and then I had just the bait left. So when you cover all those aspects, you'll catch them. Right? Now, the rods really aren't much different. The rods don't matter. Fish what you have. But if I were you, what I would say about the rods, stick to a medium heavy, fast action. Right? That's what I'd say. Now, can't go wrong. Drew and Dan bring up a good point. When you have shad, you can't go wrong with a white spinnerbait. We don't necessarily have shad in this body water. We have rainbow trout, perch, bluegill, catfish. So I did the bluegill pattern. This is what is it? War Eagle. I don't have a lot of luck with War Eagle. This is my first one I've ever bought. Probably won't buy them again. Great spinnerbaits are my favorite. And the key to spinnerbaits, you asked about spinnerbaits, shadowbaits. This is where I'm getting to your question. Key to spinnerbaits, wind. The windier, the better, because it breaks up the surface. They can't see it. They don't know what it is. They come up and hammer it. Wind. When it comes to spinnerbaits. That's why if you have a lot of wind, I'm talking a breeze to blowing 30 plus gusts, they destroy the spinnerbait. Now, I haven't had a lot of luck with this, but this is more of an experimental. I don't have a lot of luck with white spinnerbaits. I don't have a lot of luck with Colorado blades. But if I go grab my spinnerbaits, I have a sack of them that are different colors, and the War Eagle, killer bait. Where I am, the white doesn't work as much. The War Eagle, the gold, I don't know how much it works. They annihilate spinnerbaits in this body water, but I just haven't had a lot of luck with this one. But spinnerbaits, this concept stays the same. Wind, murky water, clear water. I fish them. I don't buy the whole super fast theory. The slower, the better. But when you're reel as slow as you can with it level. If you have to lift the rod vertical or a little bit more vertical to keep it up out of the weeds, great. I would tell you to stick with a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. You can reel it real slow and you have no problems, and that's the key. Slow. The smaller fish like it fast. Big fish don't want to do a lot of work, but want to fill up. So they're big fish will slowly move, grab it, and be full. They don't want to work a lot because then they have to replenish their energy. So slow is the key to big fish with spinnerbaits, in my opinion. Now you have the best bass fisherman in the world, Kevin Van Dam, tell you the opposite. And I think slow is better. Well, years of fishing them, slow is better in my opinion. And a tip for you, Wyatt. Why is there another hook on your spinner? Well, for me, this is called a trailer hook, right? The trailer hook is used for short strike when they come up and swipe at it and they miss it. There's a specific way you put them on here. It's called a trailer hook system, and it's a piece of plastic like that, and you put the trailer hook on there. It's not needed. Fish will grab the main spinner. This is just for short strikes. This time of year, they're moving around. They aren't moving much. They're a little sluggish. I use a trailer hook. Not needed. They'll eat the whole spinnerbait and break the arm if they want to. So just something I do for a little reassurance. Not an issue. Oh, and I was going to tell you, on reels, when you put your rod away at the end of the day, instead of having to drag a wrench down, this one's a terrible example because I didn't do it. Always back your drag off all the way down. What it will do, it will prevent the discs from getting stuck together and you having to service your reel sooner. Always loosen it up. Always. You never have a problem. These are put in my bag, so I didn't do it. But always loosen them up, right? All the way. All the way back. You want your spool to move. That will make your reel last longer and prolong the life of your drags. Less time in the shop, more time fishing doing that. Or silver swim baits. Absolutely. Love War Eagle spin baits. I just think I just bought the wrong one. That's my problem. I do have Abu Garcia 701 casting reel. I have one in the other room that's a 5600. I do. Casting reel, I can cast over 100 yards into the ocean from beach of jetties just with 400 sinker. See, with those reels, the heavier weight matters because you get it out there. That's a good point. I have used 12-inch and bigger rubber worms in the heat of summer. They like big worms. Absolutely. Pushing the limits, I got some 16-inch worms. 16 inches, 12 inches. I had a catfish about that big, a little bullhead. I don't know what you guys call them out, the little yellow bullhead catfish. 8 to 12-inch worm, no problem. They're hungry, they'll eat it. I've caught bass 7 inches on it, 8 to 12-inch worm, no problem. They eat it. You would think because it's long, they don't eat it, but think about it. It's long and it crunches up. So no matter whether they grab them in, they eat it. But bass attack the head because they're trying to kill the thing. So you don't need a hook towards the tail. They attack the head of it to kill it. So a big worm, they'll grab the hook. And usually nose down, the head's here, they grab it. So you don't have a problem with giant hooks and 10, 12 hooks on them. That's a myth. You just a 4 or 5, 6-aught hook, you should be good. 7-aught, pushing the bigger end, you'll be fine. Chughead, not sure what that means. 16 inches is a lot. Don't quote me on that one. Big worms, they work. Summertime, big worms. My favorite big worm is a man's jelly worm, 12 inches. Great bait. What we're going to go to? Oh, yeah, we're going to go into ocean fishing. And then we'll go back to some more bass baits and whatever you guys want to talk about. But ocean, I mean, grab my favorite rod for the ocean. This is my expensive ocean setup. All right. This one is the Edge Rods Silver Widow 9115. It is 10 to 30 pounds, 1 to 6 ounces. My favorite here. Yes, absolutely. Yellow belly. That's right. Yep. This is my favorite. 1 to 6 ounces for the style fishing we do out here. Our jetties don't just drop off and go into the ocean. They actually, the jetties are placed and they kind of crumble down. So we have a long ways to cast. And I'm fishing something. This is going to be a secret. Hopefully not a lot of people watching. 1/2 ounce jig head. That, which in the surf, that's it. Game over. I did not show you the jig head. You did not see it here. Don't open your mouth about it. The shape of the jig head matters. Let me just put that one. But I just use a 4,000 size ballistic Daiwa. Great reel. There's a jetty setup. This is a 9-foot. I usually use a 10-foot because I'm doing a lot of jigging. And I don't want it to wear me out. It's constantly jigging for 5-6 hours. I don't want it to wear me out. Something light like this works. The Cabela Salmon Steelhead 1/2 to 2 ounce is a fabulous rod too. Used it for years. Great rod. The Fish Eagle version. Okay, I'm running out of room to put all the rods here. Then we got another edge rod there. There's your basic bobber and jig. Salmon Steelhead. Works for trout too. 11'6". I'm not going to show that, but while I waited for my other rods, when I was first learning about edge and how long they take to weight, there's not a long time if they're in stock, but if they have to build them, it takes a while. So I bought one of these. This is the Okuma SST. Great rod with a Nasky on it, Shimano Nasky. 10'6", 8/17, 3/8 to 3/4 ounce. Great rod, bobber and jig, or bobber dogging. It's where the weight's here, or the weight's on the bottom, the float drags it down. It's like drift fishing, but the weight float's doing all the work. We got a bead on here to a circle hook, to a little bead, blue bead to a circle hook. Great setup. Okay, that's a bad idea. If I break that glass, I'm going to die. My parents will kill me. That is, we are in a special room. Oh, landscaping company. So we looked at that stuff. Let me put some of these rods over here, and then I'll get into some of the bait, tackle, jig, colors. But of course, you got all this stuff, right? This is my go bag for salmon fishing. Coast tributary stuff. Okay, so my jigs. Throw all my jigs in here, right? Jigs in here. Put this in my bag, switch out the colors every 10 to 15 casts until I catch a fish, and then I'll know what they like, and then I'll get my preferred colors and fish that way. And then I throw in the bag here. I always throw in the bag. If I have one in the box, I throw 2 more in the bag. In case I blunt the one in the box, I can replace it and keep fishing. Or if I catch a few fish and I end up blunting them, I have a replacement so I can continue to catch fish on that color, because that day they might like that color. Instead of buying a whole new Cabela's setup, could I get a cheap Cabela's reel, put it on the bass setup without boot Garcia? Because I don't know what to do. I'm not buying new rods. I'm not due because I'm not buying new rods. You know, as long as you put the bait casting reel on a bait cast rod and a spinning reel on a spinning rod, people won't make fun of you. So whatever you have to do. Now I use a lot of bait casters. That's what I do. But spinning rods work just fine. I didn't bring my spin rods in here, but I got 2 or 3 of them that I use. I'm more of a power fisherman, heavy cover, big stuff. That's the way I fish. Now, when I go with my grandpa, ultralight, BFS, super light stuff, that's why he fishes. So he has a lot of spinning tackle. About to set up a jig on some jig heads for striper. About 4 to 5 inch Sassy Shad and spike it yellow dye on the tail. Yes, absolutely killer stuff. Holy damn. Yes. Just like what they'd use on the East Coast for striper. Absolutely. Let's see. Talk about the Beckman net real quick, I guess. This net here is a 18 by 22. You've seen it in my videos, release videos. Great net. They make them all the way from muskie to salmon to striper, panfish, bass, anything you think of, they make it for. Beckman nets, top line nets. You're looking at a pretty penny though. You look at this one's like $80. You're looking at with shipping, you're looking at 100, 110 for the other ones. But you get quality when you do that. Let's see. Oh yeah, and look at some of this stuff. If I can get it out of here without damaging other things. Let's see. Move this rod. Okay. So my box, what I do. is label them. It says steelhead salmon, box to go number 2. Box to go with me when I take my bag with me. Because extra swivels, floats, everything, right? So the extra one that goes with me. This just has spinners. Your typical, let's see. Spinners, I changed the hooks on them. Spinners, pink. I got tons of those. I got spoons in here. Spoons, change the hooks on those. I customize the hooks. Floats, weights, swivels, jig heads. Got a whole box of these. So, as you can tell, that has no collar on it. So I use that one for worms. Just because the type of worm I use is thin. I don't want it to split. Hooks, weights, salmon hooks, 4-aught, 3-aught, weights. These I made these in the mold, took a paper clip, bent it into the shape I needed and poured it. Saved myself some money on that. I do that a lot. Split shots, all kinds of stuff in here. Barrel swivels, let's see. All that stuff, like no one spilled it all. So there's all that. I just boat flip them onto the bank because they're all tiny little things. That's fine. Once you get up to big ones, you're not careful to snap your line. So very careful with that. And all different types of jig heads. What can you use in saltwater? I'm not going to say what they are. Think of the design and think of something with narrow sides so it swims. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say what kind. That's the key in the saltwater. And I don't fish big stuff. I fish little stuff. I see so much talk about what we use, whereas there used to be no talk about it. I open his mouth to everybody. I don't talk about the stuff. I won't show it again, and I don't talk about it. I learned my lesson. Let's just say that. I use a lot of owner hooks as replacement hooks. Absolutely. These are actually Mustad, but I'm an owner and Gamakatsu fan. But there's a new brand out there called BKK from Australia. Amazing hooks. All my jig heads are owner hooks. And of course, the fancy Marabou box. This is for salmon. A lot of people overlook Marabou on the jetty. Killer on the jetty too. Now people use bucktail out on the East Coast, but out here, Marabou works better. I got my pinks. I got my peaches. This is actually a peach and white, or peach and pink and peach. Fluorescent. That's the bigger one. That would be for the jetty. Another version of peach. You got your cerise for steelhead. You got your, kind of a peachish color or cream color. You have your fluorescent pinks. You have your purples and pinks. Something I experimented with is, obviously got another purple and pink. Got 2 of those. Brown, never caught anything on that. Now, purple and fluorescent pink. You got black, purple, and blue. Great color. Got black and pink. Great color. You got, the tricolors. Got pink, orange, and pink, peach, and pink. You have pink, peach, pink, peach. Looks like a shrimp. You got black and pink, separate colors. You got blue and pink, fluorescent pink. You have, then you get into the big stuff, the custom stuff like the First Strike. You have purple, pink, orange, pink. And you got black and pink. These are big jigs. These are like golf ball size. These ones. Then you got, more of those. You got stuff like that. You got my favorite, a little maroon, good color. You got white and blue with flash in there, silver flash. You have, then you got this, right? Redhead, stuff like that. I use a lot of blackheads. This one's unpainted. We got a lot of colors, and then of course colors I didn't show are in here, but you know, I got a ton of these black. This is not mixed. These are, I use more solid colors than anything. Black, good, blackhead, no problem with that. Red, killer color. Now, of course, since I don't do a lot of steel fishing, I'm not going to get into it, but I raw salmon fishing. These are made by Dinger jigs. They're a bit bigger. These are 3/8 ounce. Whitehead, blue, killer. I got some in here. Got some of these that I tied. Blackhead, blue, killer and Chinook. You got, perp, you got blues. I got like 10 of these. So I use a lot of them. 10 of the reds, a lot of reds, blackhead, red, blackhead, red, blackhead, black, whitehead, blackhead. One of the best colors that I don't have in here that I need a lot more of is baby pink, solid baby pink, blackhead, solid baby pink, whitehead. They absolutely annihilate them. Can you use jigs for bass? I have so many of them. I always use them, but never catch them. Like rubber jigs for bass. These jigs are for salmon and steelhead. Trout will eat them. Muskie will probably eat them. Stuff like that. Trout in the rivers. These are a bit big. These are like for salmon. These golf ball size ones or baseball ones are for salmon. But yes, jigs like the rubber ones, bites out on bass. Yeah, I think you've got a box of them coming. From what I understand, those are killer. What do you use the egg pattern? What do you use for the egg pattern? Egg pattern. Let's see. So the egg pattern that I consider a cured egg pattern is red. Numerous salmon caught on, no problem. These are all marabou, and of course I did my high school colors: white, pink, red and black, pink and orange, light orange, not bright orange, pink and white. So stuff that like this is pink and white, looks pretty natural. Color's not picking it up, but I don't know how to get it to, little peach and pink, I think. Egg color, solid peach, egg color. Bit of like a salmon pink, egg color. Pink, egg color. Of course, then you get these colors, and they're a little different. Of course, a lot of other people, these are all hand tied myself. A lot of people throw stuff like this, rabbit, fur, flash in there. I think at times the flash will spook the fish. I've seen a lot of fish where people float their jig through it and they go around it. Though something with no flash, they go up and eat it. The flash sometimes is negative. But yeah, it's pinks. I'm a dark color fan. So as you can tell in my box, I don't show this very often. It's kind of a secret box. Sure, the one guide and that's it. But the top colors here, stuffed to the brim with these blacks, pinks, or blacks, reds, and blues, dark blues. Now the next one I'm going to stuff to the brim, if I do start fishing salmon again with jigs, is baby pink. That's all the color that I think is killer. Those are my 4 colors: baby pink, red, and black, and blue, dark blue, killers. Now, I know a lot of people use light baby blue. Never had luck with it. Just never have. Here's look. Anything that represents like a salmon egg or a cured salmon egg, they like. But my theory behind stuff like this is floated behind a bunch of people fishing eggs with a bunch of cures on it. They see all the eggs. They find a couple of them get hooked. They're like, that's it. I'm not eating that. This floats through there with the current and it's flowing like this, and it makes the marabou pulse. They see something no scent. They're like, that's not right. And they go and eat it. So that's my theory on that. Do you keep the big salmon you catch and eat them, or is it all catch and release? In the Pacific Northwest, we're blessed. We got a lot of bright fish, fresh out of the ocean. If they're super chrome, I keep them. They got a little bit of color on them and let them go. So I catch a lot of fish, but a lot of them get let go, no pictures. I won't even take them out of the water to release them or to take a picture. I just let them go. So that's kind of my theory on that. I just don't. The chrome, when they start to turn black and stuff, the meat quality goes down. The taste kind of fades away from them. The super chrome, like out here in the Pacific Northwest, they have a lot better flavor. Now, for salmon fishermen and steelhead fishermen, we do use a lot of different color jigs to catch them. Absolutely. I swear by solid colors, but solid colors, and not including the head. People swear, I swear by solid colors. Everybody else says contrast is key. The best fishermen in the Northwest say contrast is key. Maybe it does. Not for me. All these multicolors rarely get used. The single colors get used 90% of the time for me. And that's just the way it is for me. Everybody else says you got to have contrast. You got to have all this in dirty water. I don't care if I don't fish muddy, filthy water. But if it's green, solid color. If it's dingy, solid color. If it's a little dirty, solid color. Never had a problem. If there's slight bit muddy, solid color. Never had a problem. Never needed the contrast. Caught fish in front of people that fish there all day, all afternoon, 6-7 hours, nothing. Pop down there, hook free in front of them, go home without a limit. Never had a problem. So I've had it. You know, people say, well, you have to have this, you have to have that. I like to make my own path to success. I do my own thing. As you saw, my bass jig is black. It's not multicolored. I'm going to do my own thing, make my own path my own ways. People like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. And I don't want to play follow the leader. I've never been the type to say to follow the leader into things. I like to think that if you follow the wrong person, you get let off the cliff, you die. The sheep gets let off the cliff, right? I like to make my own path. I'd rather be the one breaking off, doing my own thing. So that's just me. The only jig I use are curly tails and little football and finesse jigs, kind of like those. Those will work. I mean, you have no problem with those. I think those jigs that are coming to you are like my jig. No problem. Work great. You got a really good care package coming. One of the people bought, and they were talking about it. I was live last night, and very good stuff, man. You will like it. It will. If you go to the right body of water, it will improve your catches. I do use hair jigs, but I need to work on using them. Yeah. So you're on the East Coast. That's what we figured out last night. We were like, okay, he's on the East Coast. That's what we heard. So hair jigs, like you're talking about, bucktail. Oh, that's super popular on the East Coast. Unless we go like Salmon River in New York, stuff like that, where they fish a lot of marabou and different things, beads. But that's a different type of hair. That's different than marabou. Marabou is super flowy, as you see, and it's different. It moves different in the water. I just got them. I said I love them. It's an awesome package. That's awesome, Wyatt. You're lucky. They're great. Great. You'll like them. I'll tell you what. Those rubber jigs like that. Those big fish. It doesn't matter where you fish. Rubber jigs are a big fish catcher. That's what they are. They're known as a big fish catcher. Now, those jigs, I always put a trail on them. Whether it's like a chunk style bait, a little short one with a claws, or a full size trail like I did. Always put a trail on there, and usually something like a craw pattern is what you want to do. You have no problem catching fish. You can cure your eggs natural pink or red or salmon for salmon or steel. Absolutely. There's different colored cures out there, and that's kind of why I have a peach, I have a pink, I have a red. The black is for, for occasion. The blue's something different. But the peaches, the pinks, the reds are to kind of do a scentless salmon egg pattern down the river where people don't, you got all that chemicals that smell all stuff, all the bite enticements. I think eventually they get sick of it if they see it all day. Float a scentless thing through them, they hammer it. That's my theory. I'll play cleanup all day like that. Not always catch them, but I'll come in behind them and be just as happy as if I was the first person down. I love my crawfish trailers. Absolutely. I live by crawfish trails. Live on. Yeah, so do I. I mean, I don't use a lot of other trailers on my bass jigs, but that's kind of what I use. Here's craw trailers. That box is a special box. I never talk about those 3 colors I talked about in the middle. As tight-lipped as just about anybody out there, but I'll talk to you guys about it. Those colors are like, that's like telling everybody where like the buried gold is. Like from me, if I knew what buried gold was, the heck I'm telling you, but I just said it. So, and I don't do it a lot, so why not share the wealth? No, that's just me though. So I was talking about the other Lita material earlier. Well, this is the stuff that other Lita materials, CFX fluorocarbon Lita material. It's super strong. This is only for like liters below swivel, stuff like that. Stuff super strong, great stuff. Very thick diameter, very strong, very abrasion resistant. Where I fish, I have a lot of rock in front of me, so I have to have abrasion resistance. And that's where that comes in. Now, of course, little steelhead stuff, like steelhead stuff, those are more salmon jigs, but the steelhead will eat those too. Caught plenty of steelhead on them. My dad has, I've seen it happen. But steelhead stuff, I like, the little stuff. As of late, I've started fishing the little stuff. Little stuff like this. You got beads, you got flash, I don't want to take them out because I haven't packed in here just right so it's shut. You got all these colors in here. Different heads, different colors, pink, yellows and pinks, black and reds. You got flash, you got no flash. You got bubble gum here. You got this one came out, but got all that. That's fish, right? You got all kinds of colors. Blue head. And blue heads have been kind of the craze lately, but got all these colors you can fish. And I have one of everything that Dinger Jig makes. So I want to get into this fishing the smaller baits, right? But with the number of steelhead around that aren't a huge number of them, I want to start fishing a little smaller. I got all these colors, all this stuff. So on that side, I bought one of everything. One of all of his baits, designs, but pinks and reds and some of the hotter colors that I thought were hot. Based off of some of his Facebook posts with fish jigs in their mouth. There's that. And then, of course, you got some of the stuff that I tied. Stuff like this is a hackle jig. Blues, whitehead, obviously. See a pattern there, right? Whitehead. You got peach, hackle. That's real. All that is hackle. Yeah, stuff like that. Then you got my I don't know if I have, then of course you have all these hooks that drop off them, but let's see, hold on. You got your black with whitehead. This is bunny fur. Bunny fur. It's real soft. This is used for steelhead and stuff. It's bunny fur. Very good moving in the water. Then you got stuff like this that people tied for me. Beads. You got the pink down there. You got the orange. This is actually in a jig swap somebody gave me. Favorite rainbow, like the fish through the dam. Hold on. Why it comes down to fishermen if they want to release the salmon, exactly, and the regulations on that particular water. I just picked up some expensive 70-pound mono for bass catfish. A new 17 is perfect. My cast rod, and I still need to put it on and I'll take off the crappy line it comes with. 17 is perfect, buddy. You do fantastic. I want to use anything lighter than 15 on a bait casting rod, if that makes sense. Favorite rainbow jig, like trout. Let's see. Trout, I've had good luck with where is it? So trout, I would have better luck with like a bunny like wrap zonker strips, rabbit strips, stuff like this. Now with fish, the trout out here, I would put like shrimp on here or some. That's when I'd bait it, catch the cutthroat. Trout. You can put a little. This one, the way I wrap this is wrapped to the shank, but to the bend. But stuff that's tied differently, like these, you put a little pink worm on it, little 3-inch pink worm, guaranteed to catch cutthroat and rainbows. I like once again, the reason this is peach is because it looks like an egg. So this is a 1/4 ounce. Put a little thin little trout worm on there, you have no problem. Yeah. I put stockers in the lakes in the winter. So I would say the power bait obviously would be the best bet. This stuff is good for when you have flow, when you have flowing water, because the flowing water will pulsate the material. But that's where I put the little trout magnet worms on there. That'll give a little bit of movement. Like I said, and while it's not moving, I want to use the jigs because there's nothing to absolute, because the flow is what moves the, makes it pulsate, and that's what gets our attention. In still water, I mean, I would just fish the bottom. That's the best I would do. But you could try the marabous. This one is something that I tied. It's really buggy. I messed around with it. Pink and orange and a ton of buggy material on here. It's super buggy and haven't caught anything on it, but it's something to try for trout. I'm sure the trout will eat it. Super buggy. I don't even know what the material is. I found it. Drilling dances, the swallow power bait super deep. Yes, they do. And I don't trout. I just don't. They're like catfish. The yellow belly catfish. I don't care if I put a 4-aught hook or a little one, number one. That thing's down the throat. I put a 4-aught on there, big salmon hook, down at the throat wind. I'm like, are you kidding me? Swallowed the hook, and as soon as you bit, I set the hook, and it swallowed it. I'm like, only thing I think you could do is how would I do it? Is put a circle hook on there and a little bit bigger hook. I mean, a size 1 or size 2. Something a bit bigger, something that they can't just swallow. I know people use like size 8s. That's so easy for them to get down the throat. I'd say size 1 circle hook, size 2 circle hook. Something bigger that they get in their mouth but they can't swallow. And as soon as they hit it, set the hook. That's my best advice. Of course, I got little things like this that I had somebody make for me. A little bit of hackle and then just a bead on the end of it. Someone made this. I don't think you can buy them, but that's something super cool. Thing. Looks like a larva with the egg following it. You do not underestimate the color, motor oil color. It works good to catch big bass. Yes. Do you fly fish with those hair jigs? These jigs, no. These are too heavy. It's for conventional gear. I do have a bunch of flies, and I do fly fish. So, Drew and Dan, I would say take a little jig like this, size 1 hook, get some small jigs like that. You can get them from Dinger, Dinger, jigs.com, and they're called steelhead jigs. And that's where you can get these jigs, these little ones. I would put one of those on there and put a couple salmon eggs on there or something like that, and they'll eat it. And that's a way of them not swallowing it if they'll eat salmon eggs. It's like the Potsy salmon eggs. That's what I would try. A bit bigger. You have a direct line to the hook, so if they on a float, if they wiggle the hook, the float moves. You'll be fine. That's my bet. And I wouldn't use a round float. I'd use more of a cylinder float. Something like one of these. Something like this. These are 1/4 ounce jigs. They make them lighter. But this 1/2 ounce float, this arrow float, something like that. Something that's a little easier to get under. So if they just bump it or just grab it and you don't see it with round floats, they go under easier. Something like that for subtle bites. And you shouldn't have a problem. This is a sliding float. It's called AF5, 1/2 ounce. You can put a 1/4 ounce jig, 1/4 ounce weight, and you should be good. So you shouldn't have a problem. Now, I've heard of this. I've done it. Haven't had a lot of results with the crappie bites. I think crappie bites work in a lot of places, but for me, it's a gimmick. I just haven't had success. So I'd say the little Potsy's red jar salmon eggs on the end of the hook. That's what I'd do on a jig head like this. Something float like this. Something like that. These are foam floats. They last a long time. They don't get broken. Little expensive, but they last a long time. Only way you lose them is if you snag them. And the trick with that is put a bobber stop above it, above the float, and then put a bobber stop below the float, just above the swivel. So when it breaks off, you'll potentially save the float. The line that I bought was the brand Vicious Fishing. Do you know if that's a good brand? Wyatt, that is a perfect brand. It will work. Brand's not necessarily going to be the issue. It's going to be the type of line, right? So Vicious is good for this time. When you respool, just go with the floor clear. It's super easy on spinning tackle, and it's super easy on bait casting. You won't have a problem with this. It's not a lot of memory. If you run into memory issues, leave it on your bait caster, put it up for a while, and it'll conform to your reel, and it should have less problems. There's one color you don't want to underestimate is the flesh-colored jig for salmon and steel trout. Fishing it is lights out on them, yes. So like a peach, flesh-colored is a good color. A lot of fish in Alaska, you run into there's fish up there that will eat the dying fish. They'll eat the flesh. The flesh flies are really good. Can't beat it. Can't beat that. But I haven't had a lot of success with it down here. Let's see what else I want to talk about. When I talked about a thing called a slinky, it is this. It's paracord wrapped or burnt on the ends with shot in it. And that's snagless. It goes on the bottom. It's really snagless and drifts along. That's a slinky. That's what their slinky's called. So just to clarify what I was talking about. Other thing you do, Dan, something like this. This, of course, has an extra hook on it. It's experimental, never fish it. Is take a jig head and put 3-inch pink worm on it. Fish out for the trout. Quarter-ounce head, 1/0 hook, size 1 hook. Throw the little worm on there, fish it around. Bubblegum pink, they'll eat it. It's a really good color to use. I have a giant gallon bag stuffed to the brim with worms. Fantastic steelhead bait. Can't beat it. The trout will eat it too. No problem. Yeah, let's see. One color you don't know. Read that. I got monofilament for mine. It is a hat still. Is that still okay for casting? Yeah. Yes. When you get into like fluorocarbon and stuff like that, it gets a little more bristly, stiff. But monofilament should be fine. The reason I suggest this next time, not that there's anything wrong with what you got. That will work fine, right? I suggest this because I'm sponsored by it. But the real reason behind it is this is a monofilament or fluorocarbon coated. So it's coated with the fluorocarbon material, monofilament. Very supple and it's easy to put on spinning tackle and bait casting. Very easy to work with. It's like $8 for 200 yards. This, I think, is $14 for 600 yards. You never have a problem with it. And this is just super easy. I hear people talk about, oh, I hate mono. I hate this. I hate that. This is just super easy. This floor clear. It's just cheap. It's easy. It's a great line. It really don't have a problem with it ever. Let's see. What else is there? Something I do with a lot of my jigs in the current is I'll run a snap on them. I will run a snap like this little Dualock snap. Salmon steelhead, no problem with that. Then I moved on to your typical East Coast tactical snap, but this is actually a Roscoe brand, Easy Clip, stronger, better. What I moved on to, just to attach the jig and make it easy to change colors and pop another one on there. Just kind of easy like that. See, what you can't beat on salmon or steelhead is a what is it? A spoon bite like this. This is called a BC steel. It's expensive, but any spoon like this, when they hammer it hard. The trout hammer it hard. Super good color. I mean, not color. Super good way to fish them. Cast out there, kind of let it wobble back. Let it wobble back. And they should hammer it. They hit these super hard, and you won't have a problem with it. Let's see. Super hard. I use snap swivels all the time. Is it easy for searching lures quickly? Yes. Yes, they are. On bass jigs, like my bass jigs, bass fishing, don't use them. I think the fish see that. Even if you catch them on it, the bigger, smarter fish see that and won't eat it. They're tied directly to your bait. That's key for me. With circle hooks, the fish will set the hook for you. Then you just start reeling them in. Absolutely. That's why I think the way it's designed is to go in. If it goes down in the mouth, to not catch until it hits the corner of the mouth, kind of roll over and catch the corner of the mouth and set the hook. And it hooks on. So it rolls along, bounces, catches the corner, hooks in, and then and the hook fish is hooked. It's made not to gut hook. That's why it's bent in. So it goes along the mouth until it hits the corner, rolls over and hooks them. That's why I suggest the circle hooks a lot. People say, oh, well, Bob, this is more from Corey. Bobber Dog, why would you use circle hooks? Well, it's simple. If you're dragging something along the bottom, the fish goes this way, he's hooked. Instead of sitting there having to set the hook on bottom and all the different things, he's hooked the second he bites it. It's already moving along. You get taught, he's done. You got him. But people are like, you can't do it. It impedes the hook, this and that. I've never had a problem. I've caught them on circle hooks. I think they have the whole mechanics backwards on it, on how the hook works, but never had a problem with it. It's in their mouth. They bite it and it hooks them, no problem. And I hooked them right in the mouth, roof of the mouth. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell people. They're like, oh, that's ridiculous. That won't work. Okay, cool, bro. Go set the hook 700 times down the river on the bottom, not trying to see if it's a fish or not. Why don't you just drift it along? It's less snaggy, and then when the fish does bite it, he hooks himself, and you'll see the float take off on the water because the second he bites it, he's hooked. Does all the work for you. Guys, why don't you do that? Well, they're like, well, it doesn't work. They think when you put a bead in front of the bait, it will impede the gap. My hooks are smaller than the gap. The beads are bigger than the gap, and I hook them just fine. When guys figure that out and start catching all the fish that they're missing, I know they ain't gonna give me credit, but you know what? It works. I've been preaching them for eggs. I've been preaching them for salmon fishing. They don't like them because the fact that when they fish some of their eggs, they let the fish swallow it. If they have a circle hook, they won't swallow it. They won't swallow it as deep, right? It'll come out and hook them in the mouth. Now, I'm not a huge fan of people fishing their eggs, letting the fish swallow it down their gullet into their stomach, and then setting the hook, right? I think if you catch a wild fish they have to release and you do that, that fish is dead. Whether you cut the line or not, he's dead. And you just harvested, even though you let it go, an illegal fish. And I don't agree with gut hooking salmon with eggs. I'd rather set the hook right away and get them right in the mouth, corner of the mouth. That's just me. And the way I fish them, I've never had a problem hooking them in the mouth. I don't know how these people fish their eggs and let them swallow it down in their throat. So when they flame the hooks in their throat, like that's not ethical to me. That's committing whatever bites it to its death. You gut hook them. You're not reviving the fish. And like, oh, well, we caught this one, we'll let it go. I think if I went with a guide and I saw him doing that, I wouldn't go with that guide again. You just killed all the fish you hooked doing that if you released any of them. And you're fishing for hatchery. So you're hoping that every fish you catch is a hatchery. And when you do catch a wild, you're killing them. So I'm not the one to go sit out there and blast it all over the place, but I've never liked the people that gut hook salmon with eggs. Now, that's not a problem. I have no problem with egg fishermen. But when you let them choke on it, bite it 6 times, and it's down their throat, in their stomach, and you set the hook, yeah, there's no surviving that. Your mortality, all the fish care people do, mortality is pretty much 100. You ripped his stomach open, it's going to get infected, he's going to die. So I don't agree with that part of it, but whatever. It is what it is. I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with letting them swallow these. I mean, I don't have my problem landing. I don't have a problem landing fish, so I don't have to let them swallow this hook into their stomach and then rip the hook into them. All right. I don't have that big of a problem landing fish. That's not ethical to me. You hook them in the mouth so you can release them. You don't gut hook them and be like, well, it's not the right one to release them. But those people that gut hooking them only show the hatchery fish, right? That they post. I guarantee you that those people gut hooking hatchery, gut hooking wild fish and releasing them. They're just not telling you about it. So I don't like that. I don't like it. You can't say I'm going to hook this hatchery fish and selectively gut hook fish. You'll gut and hook all your fish, and you don't get to choose what they are, and then therefore you kill them. That I don't like. I think that's BS by guides and fishermen out there. It's not a proud moment when you gut hook a fish and post it. Oh, look what I did. They love my eggs so much. Well, you do it once. I guarantee they're doing it all the other times. That's my rant. If they bite it, set the hook. Don't let them chew on it, and then let it go down the throat. I have a hard time believing they say, oh, well, he bit it and I set the hook. Really? It's in his stomach. How did you just bite it and swallow it that fast? I don't believe that. Could happen, but not with these certain guys that always post gut hooked fish. I'm like, so you have 100% mortality for every fish you hook. What happens when you hook a wild? You just slaughtered that fish and released it. Sure hope a game warden doesn't see that because that's illegal. I never have a problem with gut hooking fish because I always end up yanking the lure out of yeah, before the bass actually gets it. Absolutely. Absolutely. The bass, I've hardly ever had bass gut hook, ever gut hook really. I get them close, but usually in the mouth because when they bite, I set the hook. These fishermen, sometimes what they do is bounce the bait down the river towards the fish, and they'll slowly bounce it, feeding it to them. They'll bite on it down its throat, and then set the hook. But when you've seen the rod going like this and they're eating it, you can't tell if that's a fish that's legally supposed to be released or not. If it is, and you gut hook it and you release it, you cut the line and release it, it's dead. I know there's people out there doing that, and they just won't tell you. They only post the hatchery fish that they catch or the photo of it down the throat. You will never see any fins or nothing. That kind of bothers me when people do that because you can't selectively harvest hatchery fish. And when you gut hook everything, you cut the line and release the wild fish, you killed that fish, and you killed what you caught. So everything you're catching, you're killing, whether you release it or not. And I don't agree with that. That's just my opinion. I don't care if the people that are out there don't like that. You can't selectively harvest fish based off how they bite the rod, right? You can kind of figure it out once you're fighting them, but you can't figure it out when they're biting it. So if you decide to let them eat it and it's the wrong fish, it's a legal fish to keep, and you kill it, that's a big ticket if you get caught. That's a huge problem, in my opinion, with some of the people out here. And it's happening because they brag about it when they catch a fish that they're supposed to catch, post it all over the place, and look, my eggs work great. They gut hooked them, this and that. I'm like, you hooked the wrong thing. I love for some game boards to go undercover and fish with those people. Yeah, that actually really upsets me. It gives you good fishermen like you a bad name. Absolutely. As these guys are getting paid to do this, they have a good name for themselves, but I feel like the practice is unethical because, like you said, if nobody sees it, you don't take a picture of it, did it ever happen? But since you post those photos, you know better that it's actually happening. So, because some of these people always post gut hooked fish, and it's like, yeah, it drives me nuts. Now, that's not an egg fisherman thing. That's an egg fisherman that lets them chew on the bait a lot until it's down their throat. I've fished eggs. You have no problem hooking them right in the mouth. It's those people that wait, and then it just, goes down the throat. Now, I've had it where I let them bite it, the bottom of the float. But there's people that let it go under, and then down the throat. So I don't know. Or slowly back the bait down the river, feeding it to them as they're biting it, when the rod's going like this, and bump, bump, bump. They're eating it. The first bump, you should have set the hook. So you get them in the mouth. But then they let it bounce 3 more times, and slowly they're just chomping on it, going down the throat, and I don't think that's fair. So I don't want to get too vocal about that, but that's what I feel like is not fair. If I say stuff about it online, they'll be like, well, this is that. They'll start attacking you, right? Even the people that know better attacking, it's like, it doesn't make sense. Why don't you pay attention to that? It's if the gut hooking fish and post photos of it, put 2 and 2 together, they're clearly gut hooking other fish, but how many of those other fish they catch are the ones they're supposed to release? And they talk about protecting the fish, keeping them in the water, all this stuff. But when you do got to release them and you got to hook them, all that, you might as well not do any of that because they're dead. You got to hook them. You cut the line. You stuck with the hook in his stomach, down his throat, like into his stomach. That's not good in my opinion. But no. Those are the type of fishermen. Now there's nothing wrong with the ones that it happens on accident. I know fishermen that it happens on accident. It happens. Not talking. I'm talking about the people that do it consistently all the time. But those people that do that all the time are the people that game wardens look at and like, well, we need to push more rules. And they use those guys as an example against the people that don't do it. So this is by no means a problem with egg fishermen. I fished eggs. Egg fishermen, if once in a while they get it deep hooked, that's no problem. But when it's actually down past the throat in their stomach, that's when I feel like it's a little, you can see people, they post it once, post it twice, all throughout the season. You get 2 or 3, 4 posts like that, and you're wondering how many other ones of those fish have they gut hooked and released. So it drives me nuts. But like I said, not everybody. It's like 1% of the fishermen out there, and some of that 1% are the more popular people, and it's like, I don't know. It just gives bad name. But let me say this again. Accidents happen. It's not people that act once in a while do it, but there's people that who specifically associate names with gut hooked fish because they posted enough that you associate that name with them. And that is a problem, if that makes sense. Because then there's a pattern there. You clearly saw it enough to know that name is doing that. So that's a problem for me. When you see a gut hook fish and a name you don't know, cool, it happens, whatever. It's like some of this, it goes from an arsonist to a serial arsonist. They do it repetitively versus just an arsonist. Got to take off. Have a good one, Drew and Dan. See you, Dan. Yeah, I'm going to get off here pretty quick. I'm just ranting now, and I'm going to get off. Unless Wyatt has any other questions or Drew and Dan has any other questions. Congratulations, Drew and Dan, on that pig. That's good eats right there. That's good food. Good stuff for you. I'm jealous. I want some pig. There's no pigs around here besides domestic pigs. Do you have any other questions, Wyatt? Anybody on here have any other questions? I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and I'll get off because I got all the stuff to put away. And I'm sure some of the other people are going to go live soon. Yeah, I got to post a new fishing. Oh, wait, hold on. Or unless you are fishing, a river system does allow you to catch and keep wild salmon. Yes, certain rivers do. There's a particular river these people fish on that don't. Or wild still. And we do have rivers that do allow so many for the season. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where I don't have a problem with. If it's in the regulation, I don't care. But I start to question it sometimes. I have no problem with it if it's legal. It's the ones that on the rivers that aren't. You have to keep native fish that start doing it, and then you start wondering about the wild fish they're coming across. That's when I have a problem. Yeah, I got a new post. I got to post a new fishing vid here and after the stream if you want to check out. Yeah, have you subscribed to me? If you subscribe to me, I will be able to go right to your account and subscribe to you. Because if I look up Wyatt, it give me a list of names, and it'll be harder to find you. So I need some way to find your account without scrolling through hundreds of accounts, if that makes sense. Why? Do you have Facebook? Because you can follow my Anthony Rubio Outdoors page. It has 30,000 followers on there, and you could tag me or follow me, post it in the comments, and then I'll look at it. Okay, you're subscribed. Good. What is your favorite topwater bass lure? I'm not a big fan of poppers, but anything that kind of zigs and zags, great bait. A walk the dog bait, they call it, my favorite. That's my favorite. Or, you run into the frogs. The Texas rig frogs without the weight. That's great too. Or things that Greg me use the most is fishing guides out there, cutting the leader, leaving the hook in the fish's mouth. That's what I do not like. Yeah. That's on the line of the same thing I'm saying, but cutting the hook and leaving it in their mouth is just as bad. Cutting the hook in their stomach is just as bad. It's bad. There's one video out there on Angler West where they're fishing, the guy's just constantly cutting the line. I'm like, you're leaving all those hooks in the fish's mouth. That's not good. I know for a fact where I fish with my grandfather, we've caught bass with the baits that they pick up off the bottom, end up getting the hook in them because they're such small hooks, and then we catch the bass with the baits in their mouth, in their lip. So the bass will pick up baits on the bottom. That's the same thing, but salmon, they cut the hook and it's still in there. They don't just wiggle out like people think. They don't just rust away magically like that. They stay in there a while. Even the ones that aren't made to rust away. It's not a good look to be cutting the line. Unless, obviously, if you can't get the hook, cut the line. It's your best bet. But when you are someone that's constantly gut hooking fish, constantly doing that, and then you cut the line constantly, that's a problem. That's where it's like a repeat offense, doing it over, and that's where I have a problem. But if accident happens, you got hooked them, something happens, where you can't get them with pliers, it's better to cut the line and sit there, wiggle the point around and cut them all up and then bleed to death. So if you hook a bass or something, if you can't get the hook out, don't go through the gills. It's a process. You can kill them that way. Can't get the hook out and don't have pliers, cut the line and let it be. The fish will work it out. But it's in a special situation. I like walking frog bait. Yeah, absolutely. I like walk the dog baits, but I cannot for the life of me get a rubber frog to walk. Hold on. Oh man, bro, do you know anything about pet fish? Not really. I went to college. I went to a college and they had fish in a pet pond. I looked at the fish that are feeding on the ground on the bottom. The carp. Went to the local lake down the street, caught a bunch of carp. So, I mean, they're an indicator for what the fish are doing in that general area where they are. But thank you, Wyatt. Just bless you. Thank you. Or you know anything about pet fish? I mean, not really. The basics. You get a fish tank, you feed them. You continue to feed them, there's no problem. You shouldn't let them go in the wild. Shouldn't flush them down the toilet. They still go out to certain spots. Yeah. Why? What is your question, Andy? Maybe I can help. I mean, I'll do my best. Oh. Catch a little bass or beluga, that would be really cool. Yeah. In my state, you can't use the beluga, or you can't use the bluegill for bait. There's no live bait rules, right? But you can use live worms, which is kind of confusing. If you use live worms, why can't I use bluegill? But it comes down to no game fish. You're not allowed to reuse your game fish. And then there's somewhere in the regulations where you can only do it in that body of water for certain lakes. So it's really confusing. If you look at a state regulation, always look up the body of water and the regulation for that body of water. Because in Oregon, you got state regulations, you got the general regulations, then you got regulations for that specific body of water. And on rivers, you got regulations for that section of river. Section from bridge to bridge, bridge to ocean. Certain sections have different rules. Because certain sections of rivers are spawning grounds. They don't want to fish certain things. Certain section of the river, you have to use flies, no bait, including worms. So yeah, always read the section of the river. That is a horrible. Yeah, yeah. I love using minnows. Minnows, I would love to use minnows. I mean, I would love to take a beluga from the pet store, put it on their float, and let it bounce around out there, and just have that thing get ripped off. But yeah, that would always be fun. Andy, if you have a question, I know. Okay, I know how fish work. I know what they get fed. I know stuff like that. If your question is along lines of pet food, where to get it, I may be able to help you. Wow, hour and 25 minutes. Ooh, I'm starting to sweat. Let's see what else. I don't have much else to talk about, really. Um, I don't have much else to talk about. If you guys have some questions, give me 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll probably get off if we don't have more questions. I really don't want to cut into other people's live feeds. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. I caught my first fish of the week today, and I fished every day this week for at least 3 hours. Yeah, that's you know what? When you find a fish, it's good. You know, there should be more in there. Finding the fish is the hard part, right? And getting one to bite, because finding the fish and getting them to bite is kind of the same thing. Once you figure out where they are, this time of year, from summer to fall transition, usually they're schooled up in that spot. Because right now the bass are in schools. So yeah, evening time, morning time is better. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. when the sun's coming up, and fishing in the shade is your best bet. Because there's so much sun out there, they kind of hide in the shade, and when the sun starts going down, it gets a little darker on the water. They start to spread out. You have a better chance. But during the day, if you catch a couple, there's a school there. Keep fishing there. Keep switching up baits. Throw fish for a half hour. Switch up the bait again. I think my fish has an infection. I would take your fish to the vet. Believe it or not, to like a vet. Call the vet. Say, hey, I have a fish with an infection. Is there anything you can do? They should be able to help you. They should be able to suggest something. Start calling a couple of different vets. Veterinarians usually deal with animals of all kinds, so they should have some solution. If they tell you we don't do fish, well, that's their loss. Call another vet. In the worst case scenario, if you can't get information like that, call a fish store, PetSmart, Petco, one of the fish stores, and ask for advice. The other thing is, you could always call your state fish and wildlife department, because if you do that, they're usually pretty knowledgeable in fish, and maybe it's a disease that they have run across, and they'll be able to help you with solutions. Our farm has 2 lakes, so we fish those, and I have some new school friends coming over tomorrow, and I'm really worried we won't catch anything because we are all big fishermen. Don't worry about that, Wyatt. Just tell them first thing. You know what? The fishing has been tough, but if we catch them, we catch them. If we don't, we don't. Right now, it's a tough time of year. The fish are in here. Just tell them. First of all, just start with, fish is tough right now. We may not catch them, but let's just spend some time in the water trying. You guys can always come back another day with me. Make sure you stay with me. You don't want them to start trespassing. Make sure you lay out the rules saying, this is my property. You're only allowed to come here with me. Make the rules there. That's the way I'm with my spots. I show you, come here with me. If I start finding out you come here with me, don't fish with them again. But point out the rules. Tell them we may catch them, we may not. Fishing is tough right now. Tell them it's the fall transition. So the fish are transitioning from summer to fall. So they're grouped up and some are scattered out. So It's going to be hard to catch them, but when you catch them, just keep fishing there. Or just tell them the fish is going to be tough because of the time of year. Simple as that. Just say, fish is tough because of the time of year. The way the fish are behaving. Keep it simple. It's simple. Fishing is tough this time of year. Yeah, just tell them fishing is tough this time of year because they're transitioning spots. The fish are moving, and that we may not catch them, but just enjoy yourselves or something like that. Yeah, I don't know why I'm rambling. I'm saying it 7 times. Just here, keep it simple. The fishing is tough this time of year. We may catch them. We may not. You can always come with me again. That's it. That's it. Because I'm talking and not thinking about it. That's why now that I've thought about it, that's what I'll tell them. Keep it short and sweet. Whoo, it's hot in here. All right. I think I'm going to get off. Iowa Trapper last night came in around 6 o'clock. It's almost 6 o'clock my time, which is 10 minutes. If not, 3 or 4 hours from now, check. You should be on. But I'm going to get off. Have a good day, guys. Come on.